Reactions to tariffs are flowing in from across the auto industry. Check this out. We have quite a few testimonies coming in from the manufacturers and dealers discussing how tariffs are going to affect them. This is quite an interesting take that I want to break down as well, with certain parts that will be tariffed starting early May that cross the border multiple times. That's going to be a headache, but we'll try to unfold that. Audi's holding vehicles at the port. Same thing with Jaguar Land Rover, which Jaguar, whatever, but Land Rover they have some significant volume. Hyundai is keeping prices steady, but this might be the most important thing right here, right now. Cox Automotive has a list of cars that are going to be affected by tariffs in different degrees. I'll discuss how and why. But these are vehicles that are some of the most affordable in the entire automotive market, how they're being affected by tariffs. I'll give you some advice if you're interested in buying a car right now or not. All right, I can't wait to break this down with you guys. If you're new to the channel, my name's Kirk. I talk about car news just about every single day. I have a Honda trip coming up. I have a big, huge, massive Toyota trip coming up. There's all sorts of events coming later this year as well. So make sure you are subscribed. You don't want to miss my hands-on coverage as well as my news breakdowns on the channel. And if you guys like two-wheel coverage, I have a second channel based on motorcycles. I just rode about 5 different Triumphs yesterday at a local demo drive. Wow. Stay tuned for that if you like motorcycle content. Let's get into this. Now, keep in mind that these 25% increases for all imported vehicles and parts. I mean, the parts aren't even being tariffed yet, right? But these prices can't just go up overnight in theory. I mean, yesterday we talked about how Volkswagen is stopping cars on the rail and putting new transit fee stickers in them. Vehicles sitting on dealership lots were already wholesaled by the factory before the tariffs took, all right? So when we go back to this chart, look at how long some of these cars, over 100 days, none of these are going to be affected by tariffs, all right? And a lot of these dealers will be willing to deal on them. Some dealers have started advertising that their inventory is tariff-free, adding a $0 line to items on vehicle detail pages to emphasize that point to customers. Well, they're just taking advantage of customers that haven't done their research, which is most car buyers. To be honest, I sold cars, and honestly, yes, most of them don't take the time to inform themselves on where cars are made and how geopolitical legislation affects things. But dealers advertising that no cars have tariffs on them quite yet. I mean, there are exceptions. I would say 95% of the inventory sitting on a lot is going to have zero tariffs. And you also have to keep in mind, many of these manufacturers, so if I go to Hyundai, Kia, Honda, Toyota, they are not raising prices whatsoever. In fact, Ford, remember, Ford recently said, not only are we not going to put tariff prices or additions to the price on our products, Ford is saying, hey, until June or July, it might be July, you have employee pricing. So these manufacturers, they don't want to scare business away. And in fact, they're doing everything they can to keep the prices where they're at. We already know the market was already at a breaking point for affordability. It's amazing it's gone on this long with how expensive cars are. You know, I wouldn't consider myself poor. I would consider myself very middle class. And the thought of buying a car is still a huge investment. Maybe it's the fact I also have 5 kids. So buying a new car is not, I mean, it's important for the safety of my family, but it's still, I have a lot of costs that goes through my head. Anyways, automakers begin paying more to unload newly built vehicles at U.S. ports and rail yards. They'll have to decide how much of the extra costs go into the sticker price. So look at Volkswagen. Volkswagen America has added an import fee to the destination charge on vehicles assembled outside the U.S. Well, let's go to our little list over here. Do we have a Volkswagen? Interesting. Why isn't Volkswagen on the list? They should be, because the Taos is a very affordable vehicle. The Taos is built, and the Jetta, and the Tiguan, and the GLI that I just drove, which is based off of a Jetta. They're all made in Mexico. Audi builds a Q5 in Mexico too. So what is Volkswagen doing? Well, they're slapping these cars with a destination charge. They said that the fee would affect prices on vehicles imported from Mexico and Europe beginning April 3rd. There are no final pricing decisions, and it will depend on something as simple as the vehicle's trim package. Yikes, that sounds like a nightmare trying to price these things. So I want to get into what's Audi doing. The luxury division of Volkswagen, Audi holding all vehicles delivered to the US at ports. They're holding them at ports after April 2nd. Audi plans to hold all vehicles assembled in Mexico and overseas, so Europe mainly, delivered to the US ports after April 2nd. Well, it's April 5th, so they've been holding them for 3 days now, because they're subject to the 25% tariffs. Audi said all vehicles on sale that arrived on or before April 2nd and are at port will be processed. Well, that makes sense. Those are going to be delivered to dealers. So all those cars at the dealers have been marked as no added import fee. Volkswagen America on April 2nd told dealers its plans on an import fee to be added to destination charge. So Audi has over 37,000 vehicles in dealership and available port stock that are not impacted by the import fees, and they're available to sell to customers. So how long are these vehicles going to pile up at the port if they're still sending them to the port? I don't know. Maybe they stopped sending a lot of these vehicles to the port, but they have to go somewhere. They can't just like shut down the factories. That is very costly to shut down factories and start them back up. That wouldn't make sense. So I don't know what they have to remedy this or find a way to just add the tariff fee on these vehicles, because dealers are going to run out of cars and Audi's in the business of selling cars. They can't just keep them held up at ports. They have to, they're probably just, could you imagine being a fly in the wall in the Audi and Volkswagen offices? So what do we do? I don't want to do like an Arnold. I know Arnold has an Austrian German accent, but I'm not going to do any German accents here. Imagine being a fly on a wall somewhere in Germany where Volkswagen is trying to figure this out. All right, with the tariffs. Well, I would like to be a fly on every wall for every manufacturer in a business meeting, but it's like, okay, they have these cars piling up. They've decided to stop them. What do they have to come to a conclusion soon, or at least a near-term solution? Just put $1,000? Is it $1,000? No. Is it going to be a $2,000 fee? Well, no, that's not going to cover the cost either. Guys, for luxury cars, it's probably $5,000 to $10,000, if not more, to be added onto the sticker price. For something like a Jetta, maybe that's $6,000, but something like the Q6 e-tron that I just reviewed this morning, wait for my review to go up, the SQ6 specifically, maybe that's a $10,000, $20,000. I have no idea. That's an $80,000 car. So the tariffs would have to be quite massive on it. I don't know. They have to figure it out, and I will report once Volkswagen has figured it out. Over at Car Scoops, one piston crosses 6 borders before it gets into your American-made truck. This is, I heard about this before the tariffs even came into effect, and there was a graph, but I don't think this website has a graph of the piston where it goes individually in each country. There are some parts that go from U.S. to Canada, to U.S. to Mexico, to U.S. to... It's mind-numbing, and you would think that would not be profitable to do that. All right, if you look, and I'm not a Tesla fan by any means. It doesn't mean I am a fan or not a fan. I'm very neutral on Tesla. All right, but regardless, they're very vertically integrated. Their parts, they have far fewer parts than the average car, and they're, I would say, far less impacted by the tariffs just due to the fact that their parts are smaller in number, and Tesla likes to produce as many of their parts as possible. They don't produce all of them. They still have suppliers just like any other traditional car manufacturer. But when you have something like a piston that crosses the border 6 times. All right, so here's a great example. Wall Street Journal shared a video using the F-150 as an example. It's assembled in Michigan and Missouri, but it's a global effort. Tires come from South Korea. Alloy wheels come from Mexico. Half shafts come from Canada. In total, over 24 countries contributed to the mix of parts of the American-made F-150. The percentage of foreign parts in U.S. automotive industry is around 40%. Adding that U.S.-made cars with all U.S. parts is a fictional tale. Yeah, I mean, I'm working on a motorcycle video on tariffs as well, because from my understanding, 25% tariffs as well affect motorcycles that are being imported. But Harley Davidson, who's struggling a lot right now, for example, and Indian... Like, yes, they make some of their bikes here. I think India might make all their bikes here. Some of you guys might fact check me on that. Their parts come from everywhere. All right. I feel like it's easier to track the parts of a motorcycle because it's just a smaller vehicle. But when it comes to a car, something like the window switch control modules might come from Malaysia or something. There's just so much complexity to an automobile. That's why these tariffs are so upending of the entire market. Every single part it could potentially come from somewhere else. Jaguar's also pausing Land Rover shipments to US. So I wonder if like Volkswagen's phoning in Jaguar and be like, hey, our friends over in the UK, what are you guys doing with the tariffs? Are we just going to hold them up on the port until we all make a decision? And then BMW's on the other line. Yeah, let's just wait. We can't figure this out either. Right now, in the back of their heads, maybe they're like, hey, maybe our government and the US government is working on a deal. Jaguar Land Rover will pause shipments of its Britain-made cars to the United States for a month. For a whole month. It said on Saturdays it considers how to mitigate the cost of the 25% tariff. Maybe they're just like, hey, we're waiting. We don't want to jump into this. We can float for a month. No big deal. We don't need to sell cars in the United States right now. And maybe they're like saying, maybe they're talking with their governments and saying the government's telling them that they're working with the US and there's going to be hopefully a resolution made by the end of the next 30 days or whatever. That's what we can all hope for. I think we could all hope for resolutions to be made so the entire industry isn't just screwed, right? Because even if, as we just talked about, even if the vehicles are built in America, 40% of their parts, sometimes more, sometimes less. Tesla's less, Honda's less, especially Honda's large platform vehicles like the new Passport, the Pilot. They're some of the most American-made cars, right? But believe it or not, your heavy-duty pickup trucks and the full-size pickup trucks, they're very much an international product, even though it has that American Ford or Chevy badge on it. All right, Hyundai's to keep vehicle prices steady until June amid tariff uncertainty. So you have Audi holding up vehicles. You have Land Rover, Jaguar. So those are luxury brands holding up vehicles. Volkswagen is not holding up vehicles seemingly. They are going to be just slapping them with some sort of tariff, or should I say price increase because of the tariffs. But here's Hyundai, along with like I said, Toyota, Honda, Hyundai and Kia, keeping their sticker prices on its current model lineup steady for the next 2 months. They're not stopping cars from coming into America. They're not raising prices. Business as usual. No changes for 2 months minimum. And that is great news because I want to get to this. So as we look at the Venue, the Elantra, the K4. The K4 is made in Mexico. There it says right there. Most of the Hyundais that are going to be hit with tariffs are coming from Korea. But there are a lot of Kia. Like Kia K4 is their second best-selling car outside of the Sportage, I think. Might actually outsell the Telluride at this point, the K4. So this is a big one. You can see the day supply is quite low on this car for this list. Obviously, the RAV4 is one of the lowest supply cars in the industry. The RAV4 Prime, or sorry, should I say P, have even more so. All these vehicles are going to be hit with tariffs. Got to keep in mind, if you're in the market for a new car, these high day supply means that you're going to be able to get a good deal, even if they're built in Mexico or wherever they're going to come from with the tariff. So high day supply means you have the cards in your hands. I think Trump likes using that, right? When he met with Zelensky. That was an interesting day. But the cards are in your hands. The ball's in your court. When the day supply on these vehicles are through the roof, leasing a Hyundai Venue right now and a Hyundai Elantra is probably dirt cheap. A Maverick. Guys, I couldn't believe this. The Ford Maverick is, for me, one of the most desirable vehicles. It's a very affordable pickup truck. Now, the average listing price here is way too high. You can get these for $2,000 under MSRP, at least. That's what I'm seeing them advertised as. That's a great deal. And look at the inventory piling up on them, the Ford Maverick. All right, Versa is one of the cheapest. I think it's the cheapest car now that the Mirage is killed. The Versa is the cheapest car. Look at the volume. Nissan even said recently that they're closing their plants, or not closing the plants, they're stopping production on a couple of their lines down in Mexico because they have met their volume that they've needed to. So they worked super, super hard. They probably worked them 24/7 to get all these vehicles in before tariffs so they can just coast for a while in uncharted waters, which we are in now. Kia Soul, not a good day's supply. It's a fine car. It's fine with whatever. It's a very practical car. Not very good fuel economy last time I tested one, and that was a bit disappointing. The Versa gets really good fuel economy. Hyundai Venue, good fuel economy. Look at the day supply here. You guys will be able to get a great deal on a Venue and an Elantra. The Venue, you don't see them that much in America, but when I was in Puerto Rico, it was like every 10th car. They were everywhere, the Hyundai Venue there. They're very, very affordable, and they're good on gas. They're practical, right? It's like the Hyundai version of the Kia Soul, just not as cute. I wish we had the Inster here in America, but that's another discussion for another day. Chevy Trax, low inventory. It is made in South Korea. A lot of people don't realize the Buick version of it was at the Invista. There's other Buicks also made in China and in Korea. But, oh yeah, here the Buick Invista's right here. I should just keep reading. Invista, you should be able to get a good deal on. But look, the Invista and the Trax are very much the same vehicle, in my opinion. So it's not worth spending $2 to $3 grand more on it, and that's why you see a higher day supply here. Chevy Trailblazer, I think I reviewed one the last couple of years. I have nothing to say about it. I like the design of it. I remember liking how it looks. But made in South Korea, all right, going to be getting hit with tariffs. And this is the thing. General Motors, I think the reason why they have so much South Korean production is they bought Daewoo years back. Yeah, they acquired Daewoo in 2002. All right. And so they have production capacity there in South Korea with lower wages, lower production costs. All right. The Civic, good luck getting a deal on a Civic right now. I mean, yes, they make some of them in Indiana. Some of them are made in Canada, right? And as I look at the Civic, it's a better car than all the cars that precede it on this list. The rest of these cars, if you look on here, I would lease all of them, but a Civic and an HRV, I wouldn't mind owning. Same thing with the Maverick. I would put money down on a Maverick hybrid. Nissan Rogue is a lease car. Most of these are lease cars. HRV made in Mexico. Would I want to own it? No, because I think they're better cars. Like I'd much rather have a Civic and a Civic hybrid over an HRV. All right. HRV will give you all-wheel drive. So anyways, Compass, Equinox, lease cars. Ford Maverick is a lease or a buy. Nissan Rogue lease. CX-5 made in Japan. That's a buy or a lease. Forester buy or lease. RAV4 buy or lease. CRV buy or lease. Equinox EV definitely lease. I reviewed that car. It's priced really, really well for the range it has. It's a decent EV. It's decent. Chrysler Pacifica, $45,000. They're all made in Canada. It's very worrisome what's going to happen to the Pacifica and even the Charger Daytona EV that I'm driving right now. Speaking of Daytona, I also reviewed the Triumph Daytona 660 yesterday. So that review will be going up on Crifle Cycles. Just taking a step back, anything that's over 100 days supply here, like the CX-5, you should be getting a cracking deal on a CX-5 right now. Pacifica, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, but Chrysler needs the sales. Stellantis sales are in the gutter, and they have been for 7 straight quarters. Rogue, lease the heck out of that for peanuts. Maverick, you might actually be able to get a good lease deal on a Maverick, if not a discount if you purchase it. So Maverick, Compass, straight lease, and this is one of the highest day supply here. The Elantra, I can't believe how high the Elantra is. Should be able to get a cracking deal on Elantra and a Venue. You know, you guys can use this as leverage too. If you're out to buy a car, you're like, hey, you need to get rid of this car. The dealers lose so much money when these cars sit around on the lot for more than 90 days, especially. When you get into triple-digit day supply, like the Elantra, my gosh, they can't get rid of it. And you look at the K4. How is Kia able to move the K4? They cost about the same. All right, they have similar powertrains. How is Kia able? It's because of the design. Elantra's kind of ugly. It doesn't look terrible, but like, is that the main reason why we have more than double the day supply of the Elantra versus the K4? That's just mind-blowing to me. So props to Kia moving the K4 at a high clip. Yeah, I mean, the CX-5 stands out here. The Maverick stands out here. Would not hesitate to plop down my hard-earned cash on, and with high day supply, which means you're going to be able to get a good deal. I got into there, guys. I'll see you in the next news update. It's every single day seemingly at this point. Maybe I'll take a day off on Sunday tomorrow, but that doesn't mean Monday I'll be back fiery. seeing what's transpiring into the market. I appreciate all of your guys' support. The channel's been growing lately. I really appreciate all my old members, new and old, doesn't matter. I love you all. You all make my dream come true where I can talk about cars for a living. Thank you so much. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day. Peace.